Welcome, my name is Mrs Clark and I am Director of Progress at Woodkirk Academy Sixth Form. My role is to make sure that every student achieves the very best that they possibly can, and I'm going to talk you through the support that is available to them. Largely, the support that is available for them is through their subject teachers. They will be the people that they can turn to if they are struggling. They can email them if they prefer, and they will really help them get to grips with the new types of assessments that they are needing for their courses. They also have their form tutors. It's a little bit different at the moment because they don't have regular form time with their form tutors like they normally would, but they have met their form tutors and they are able to email them should they wish to. They also have us, the sixth form team, and that includes our learning manager. And we are here to support them if they need help planning their time, their study time, or if they need some guidance with revision strategies. It really is important that they plan and use their study time appropriately and effectively. They aren't used to having these study periods, and it will feel like a bit of a novelty to begin with, but it is really important that they really think about how they are planning, what they are going to be achieving in those study time. And that's where you can help by asking them what they're going to be doing in those study periods. It's also vital that they use their time productively outside of school. If they have a study period, they don't have to stay in school. If they prefer to study at home, that's absolutely fine. But they need to make sure that they're using their time productively. This does include keeping on top of homework, but it's also about recalling and revising previous content and getting back into those good habits. We will also be delivering some revision workshops throughout the year to help prepare for assessments that will be happening throughout year 12. It's really important if they're asked to attend a workshop, if they're asked to attend some study periods, that they do attend, that they do listen to advice, but more importantly, they act upon this advice. So at the sixth form, we have a staged process for learning and progress, and that includes learning, but it also includes behaviour and attitude. Stage one happens when a student perhaps doesn't do the homework or the work isn't quite the standard that it should be. And what happens then is the teacher will give them a warning and they'll put it on our system so that we're aware. If it happens again in that same subject, the teacher will then contact you, the parent. We believe this is really important. Parents want to be involved, and even though we are treating sixth form like young adults, we know that you have a huge impact on helping keep them on track. So we will be involving you quite early on. Stage three, so if it happens again, if it's behaviour and attitude, then Mr. Ellis steps in, and it might be that they're put on report, it might be an attendance report, but he'll regularly be in contact with them and you again to try and get them back on track. For learning, the left-hand side, that's where I step in, but sometimes they can jump straight to stage three, and that's not a negative thing, that's not punishment. It normally happens after an assessment point, and that might be because they struggled with a particular skill. It could be time management, it could be a particular question, it could be the way that they're studying and preparing. So we want to help them as early as we can. And their subject teacher will create a support plan looking at strategies, looking at resources that are available to them to help get them back on track. If after the next assessment point they are still struggling, they will then move on to stage four. That's when myself and our learning manager will be more involved. We'll meet with them more regularly. We'll ask them to come and work with us in study periods, and we'll be looking at whether they're planning their time appropriately, looking at revision strategies, looking at skills needed for their lessons to really again help to get them back on track. This is positive. It's here to help them. I don't want them to see it as punishment or to see it as they're just not doing very well. Okay, it's here to support them. So we want to make sure that you and they are all aware of this. Stage 5 is very rare that it happens for learning, and often it will only happen if they're on stage 4 and 5 for behaviour and attitude. And that's simply because if they've not got the right attitude to learn, then they really will struggle to progress. So assessment weeks, I've mentioned this a little bit already. During year 12, they will have 4 assessment points. Assessing is really important. It's important that students test themselves regularly, even if that's an online test where it doesn't matter what the result is. Their teachers will be testing them all the time in the lessons, and again, it won't necessarily be formal. But we also have these assessment weeks, which are a little bit more formal, but it will really get them back into practice. Unfortunately, they didn't get to sit their year 11 exams. So we need to more than ever make sure that they have those skills needed to face those exams. Assessments will focus on prior knowledge. Their first assessment will literally just look at what they've done so far in year 12. But let's say we go to March, it could be that they are assessed on something that they've done in September, which is why constantly going back on lessons that they've learned is really important. However, to help them, because we don't want to catch them out, they will be informed by their subject teachers of the revision topics needed for assessment. And this is really so that they can structure that revision. They will explore recall strategies in their lessons. What they need to do is, in their own time, think about the strategies that work best for them and then use that when they're planning their time. Students really should give themselves time to prepare for these assessments. They shouldn't be looking through their notes the day before, or even the week before. And this is where we need your input so that you can encourage them. They shouldn't just be completing homework. They should be constantly going back on previous content to make sure they're able to recall it. We want them to be successful. We want them to enjoy the success because that will make them want to do it again and that will make them feel really proud. So assessment week, their first assessment week is week commencing October the 5th. I will be emailing the students all the assessment dates and I'll also put it on the newsletter. It's really important that students put these dates in their diaries. They must attend, so they must be available for the whole of that week. The assessments take place after school, 3:30 to 4:30, and there is an assessment for most subjects. Some BTEC subjects will also have an assessment if they have an assessment as part of the course. So teachers will be able to advise students about that. I know it might seem a bit inconvenient for some students if they've got a lesson in the morning and then they haven't got any lessons and then they've got an assessment at 3:30. They can either stay at school to prepare or they can go home and come back. But we do need the assessments to take place at the same time at 3:30, just like the exams would take place at the same time in the summer when they do their final exams. If you know in advance for a really good reason, let's say a medical reason, that they can't attend, if it is for good reason, please do get in touch with me via email or do ring me. But can I ask that it's you that gets in touch with me rather than students? Because where possible, I'd like all students to be taking the assessments at the same time. BTEC students who don't have an assessment, they may be asked to stay behind to catch up on work. So again, it's important that they are free for the whole of that week. I will only be able to tell them that they're needed the week before. So it is important that they are available, but more importantly, it's important that they keep up to date with their deadlines and then they won't be called for. Once they've done the assessments, the grades will be put on Ops for you to view so that you're constantly aware of how they're doing in terms of their progress. Spacing your learning. I've done assemblies with the students about this before, so they should be aware of this. But like I said before, they are a little bit out of practice because they didn't have their year 11 exams to work towards. The key thing really when they're learning new content, and there is a lot of content to learn for level 3 courses, the key thing is to think about a day, a week, a month. After they've learned something, go back over it. They may have been taught it, but they really need to learn it for themselves. A week later, make sure they can recall it and then leave that space and go back over a month. Helping them with that, because it will take a while to get used to it, will really help them with their planning. But it also, the most successful students, they'll do this. So they will build their revision into their study plan. So they're not just using their study periods for homework, they're using it to revise as well. So lastly from me, a quote that I've already shared with the students, but one that I feel is really important. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of success. Students will struggle at times. They will find it difficult. They may feel that they can't do it, and they don't want to do it. But we all have to go through that process. I myself go through it. I sometimes make mistakes, but it's what I do with those mistakes. It's how I bounce back. And it's about becoming part of the success. We will be here to support them all the way. It's important that we stay in contact with yourselves and with the students, and we will support them as much as possible. And we wish them all the best with their time at sixth form. Thank you very much.